Hello and welcome. I'm Carol Mandy. Today we bring you sebuleni from the plush neighborhood of Elkington at the House of Rock and Roses. In past shows, we've explored the male mind and what men want in relationships. Today we focus on helping men understand women just a little better. We started by asking some men what they found confusing about women. Here's what they had to say. Take a look.
Sometimes ladies are so persistent that you don't even know how to handle them. They demand too much of what they're getting.
It's basically many women are known to say no when they mean yes.
When it comes to appreciating maybe a chick friend, she may be just a friend, but they take things a little bit too far. Like they want to have male friends, yet we can't have female friends. You never really understand that.
Current women are materialistic. That's the problem. Now, being materialistic makes men fear them.
Ladies would send a different signal to the men. And most of the times, the information is not full. It could be half truth. So you see now, making decisions on half truth, you will not get the best results.
Mavazi ni kitu moja ambayo inaguza wanawake zaidi. Manake wamechukua ni tabia ya kuvaa mavazi ya wanaume. Na hiyo inachukiza zaidi.
We don't know what they want. Juu nini wanatakanga. Ajai, yani wakwangi specific wanataka nini.
Today on the show, we have an all-women panel and an all-male audience. Joining me is motivational speaker, trainer, and writer Tazim Elkington. I'm also joined by Yvette Ondachi, who conducts premarital counseling at Mamlaka Chapel, and businesswoman June Dungu. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
Maybe I should start with you, Tazim. You know, why is it that men find women so confusing? Is it like we're operating on two different wavelengths?
I think it boils down to social conditioning. And the social conditioning is men are supposed to behave in a certain way and women are supposed to behave in a certain way, and that defines the roles. However, I think moving into the 21st century, we are at a different place now, and I think it's important that men and women recognize that emotions are emotions regardless of men or women. We all have, you know, we all want to be loved, we all want to love back, we all want to feel good, we all want a sense of companionship. What we all desire as men and women is the same thing. It's how we actually project these wants and desires and how we've been socialized into believing that it's supposed to be done in a certain way, which causes the gaps in relationships. So we've got to go deeper into understanding what our conditioning is, how are we going to change that social conditioning, how are we going to move men and help them understand what is important and what is good for them, as well as how to get women to shift their way of thinking. Because I think also, as one of the comments, one of the guys said that men are wearing the pants, and I think that is becoming an issue in our society, that women are getting more masculine and men don't know what to do with it.
That's true, and I think, you know, when you're talking about just breaking down the gap, you know, sometimes I think, Yvette, because you work a lot, you're a pastor's wife and you do a lot of premarital counseling, it's almost like it's two different worlds that men live on and women live on. You know.
And also you find that they presume to understand one another. You see, the best way I can get to know about men is from men themselves. So I think that the communication lines need to be kept open.
So I shouldn't find out about men from my girlfriends.
Just
ask the guys.
It's very, very important to just keep talking and listen, you know. And then another thing is this whole issue of generalization. All women are... No. I'm not all women. We may have similar tendencies, but we're individuals with very different personalities, temperaments, and we're just different people. And it's important to try and understand one another.
Okay. Now, June, you know, it's interesting that one of the complaints that men make is that women send mixed signals, and I think a gentleman in the segment actually said it. You know, so, and I remember one show of Sebuleni where this woman said, "When I say go, when she has a fight with her husband and she tells him to go, what she actually means is she wants him going to stay. So talk to us about mixed signals.
To some extent it's mixed signals, but for us women we don't really see it as mixed signals. We sort of are quick to talk. There's a feeling that we feel, yes, go, but we don't really want you to go. The idea is, yes, we have that feeling of go, so we do say the go, but deep in our hearts our emotion is really, I want you to come and let's talk about it, let's sort out this problem because I still love you. But at that point she'll say go. So we also, as women,
it's the emotion.
It's the emotion
and the anger.
And the anger that's coming out, but we don't know how to also to communicate that better and say, you know, can we sort this out? Can we? But we're caught up in the emotion and we're saying go. But really, it's not really go. It's, please, let's talk about it. Yes.
Okay, and another common one, Yvette, is that she starts crying. And then he asks her what's wrong. And she says nothing. Yeah. What is he supposed to read from that?
He needs to be more resilient. You don't just back up and go because I've said that there's nothing. Obviously, you can see that I'm crying.
Yeah.
But I think the reason why is the fear of being misunderstood. And many times you could find a man dismissing it and say, that's just a small thing. That's what's making you cry. And it'll just make things worse. But if it's small enough to make me cry, then it's not a small thing.
Yes.
And you have to not trivialize the whole issue.
Yeah.
So we need persistence. I think that men have to be persistent and find out, no, I can see you're crying.
Why?
So do you want to talk about it?
Yes.
Are you ready to talk about it?
Yes.
You know, those are some of the things that you need to think about, you know.
And I also think that sometimes when you say nothing, it's because what's wrong is actually him. It's the person standing right in front of you, you know.
And the thing is, he can't figure out he's the problem. He needs to know, because if you see I'm not happy, it's you.
It's you. When I say nothing, it's you.
It's you.
Okay. Now, Tazim, you know, we're told, I think by psychologists, that women have 70,000 words that they have to use in a day, and men have like 3,000. Now, it's this insatiable need to just keep talking. And men just, you know, I think in one of the earlier shows in Sebuleni, they said, when you say, let's talk, he just thinks, oh my God, and he wants to take off. But also in terms of at the end of a day, you come home, you still have 40,000 left, and he has only 2 words, you know? So let's talk about that need of women to just talk.
I think, you know, that is a clear definition. Women do have more to say than men do. Men generally can say what they need to say in fewer words. Women need to really, really express and maybe even repeat to be understood. So I think here women need to take a cue and think, all right, can I do this different as well? I think we really have to look at the way we communicate. Communicate is a huge one, and we do have differences as men and women on how we communicate. So if we already understand that as women we may use more words than necessary, how do we bring balance to that? And if men already know that they don't use enough words, then how can they use more words to express? So this is about changing the way things are defined so that we start to find a middle ground to meet, where both parties now start to communicate with an equal balance.
Okay, I'm going to take questions right now from the audience or comments on this topic.
We would wish to blame all these on men. We will say that we men, we are not understanding you ladies. But don't you think actually men are trying to change? We've been brought up in a culture where we've been taught that the place for a woman is the kitchen, and I'm the one who's supposed to be feeding the family. But you've seen now roles are changing. Men are accepting the fact that my wife can also be a CEO of a certain company, and I need to accept that because situations now are changing. Don't you think we are trying to change, that women nowadays no longer have to stay in the kitchen? Don't you think we are accepting that now as a trend that is changing?
Absolutely. Can I please respond to that? I have the greatest empathy for men. I really, really do, because I think that since time immemorial, women have an inherent nurturing instinct, and we are, you know, we are built in a certain way where we're more susceptible to change. We are more attracted to doing things differently. Men are happy to have things status quo because, you know what, it works better. But the fact that you guys are really wanting to change is amazing, and that is already many steps ahead. The thing is, I think, where there's a gap again is, do men really know how to change, what to change, and how to implement and apply what they think they need to change in relationships. This is the huge questions, and a question that I have, and that's why I love talking with men, because if men really get that these are the aspects that I need to change, and this will then impact my relationship or relationships in this way, then you have absolute, solid data to go by. But who's telling you this? So here I feel there's a gap, because men talk to each other, and sometimes that doesn't give you the information you need to create those changes.
Can you give us an example, Tazim, of perhaps something that they can think about changing?
But let's take an example where a man comes home, he's tired. We were talking about this earlier. He's tired and doesn't feel like talking. Doesn't feel like talking because he's had a long day at the office, and men generally go into what we call caves for a little while as they get home. All right, so how do you communicate that to your significant other? What do? You come home and, kiss your wife or your girlfriend on the cheek and say, hi, hun, I'm happy to be home. How was your day? Now, how was your day can be a big mistake, because how was your day will give you a torrent of expression. Those 70,000 words that were not fully expressed will be out, all right? So it's better not to ask, how was your day? Say, I'm going to make myself a cup of tea, give me a few minutes, and I'll be back and we can talk about how our days were. A simple example. And that changes the whole mood of what happens that evening. So that's an example.
Fantastic. Okay, let's talk about the women's intuitiveness. Because I find that a lot of times women they go into a situation and they can tell. She sees you with a girl and she can tell this girl is after you, There's a certain intuitiveness and reading between the lines. But sometimes that also opens the door for misunderstanding, because sometimes you're reading what is not there.
Speaking of intuition and the insecurities that you talked about, I think there's also the issue of baggage. Sometimes you must understand that when a woman gets into a relationship, or even a man, your whole background comes in with you. And maybe there were things you saw. Maybe your parents were unfaithful to one another. Maybe it happened to your sister. Maybe it happened to your friends. And there's a stereotype, as you said. And I just think about insecurity, it's important to talk about it. And just to reiterate what you said, it's how you say it. And so it's important not to act immediately on your intuition, but to think about it more and find wisdom in wording your complaints and your concerns, and have a constructive conversation that's not accusatory and would make the other person get all defensive. So it's an art. It's an art.
It's an art that you learn, and June, because we're talking about reading between the lines here, and sometimes I think with men, women just need to ask.
Yes.
What is going on between you and this person.
But we need to be able to sort of like pull ourselves apart and really look at what is our purpose together. What do we want to achieve together? And that should be more motivation, that we are both, we've stopped trying, we avoid mistrusting each other and try to build a positive sort of like identity towards each other, where you try and find out what does he really want and what do I really want. And based on that, you're working towards avoiding, the baggages, avoiding the societal misconceptions and the stereotyping and all that, because we all come with baggage. I know, like, personally, you're told all men are dogs, and it's not necessarily the truth. It's not. And as you said, we not generalize. Some guys are different and some guys want to be different. However, also guys have the peer pressure. You find that some guys, with you, he really wants to be a nice guy, but when he goes out there, he really has to show he's the guy and he can do it. So sometimes it's showing off to his buddies that he can talk to other girls, but he really doesn't want to talk to other girls. He wants to show a certain image.
Are you sure he really doesn't want to talk to other girls?
It's an image thing.
It's an image thing.
It's an image thing. So we have a whole lot in play here. There's a whole lot. But I think what is important for relationships, and women especially, let's say what you really say, because this guy does not understand. We have our own lingo. We have our own conversation in our heads. We have already designed and we've gone and we've done, but
he doesn't read female speak.
He doesn't read female speak. He's not with you. He has no clue whatsoever. Yeah.
Okay, we go to break now, but when we return, we look at what women wish their men knew. Stay with us.